Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's a chess show on Pod TV. My name is Sasha Star, and our guest today is Professor Ken Regan. Welcome to the show, Ken.
Thank you very much. Welcome to my living room, being slowly decorated.
Okay, so it's a festive season is approaching.
Yeah. Debbie's
And
birthday tomorrow, so we don't put up full holiday things until after it.
okay, good idea. So we had just a spectacular, some great tournament on Fischer chess.
Yes.
So they have now different names for it. Some people call it 360 chess, or 960 chess. I'm sorry,
960, yep.
960. Although it should be 959, 959 because the position, which is same as the classical chess, definitely is not an option.
Correct, yes.
Right. So it's 959 to be correct, and so this is we called Millennium Chess. There are at least 3-4 different names for this tournaments. So, what's your preference in as name is concerned?
I think it's reasonable to pinch the name freestyle,
Yeah.
which originally designated the ability to play with a computer during a game.
Yes.
Um,
It's slightly different meaning, but the word is the same, and it seems to me it's not worse than any other name. Although there is some mystery about still calling it a Fischer chess
Right.
because he was the first one who
yeah,
who
Fisher
invented
Random is the other name that I
Fischer
use.
random. Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Fischer random. Yeah, that's correct, and that's so it was a Fischer's prediction that at some point the preparation for the openings will be developed to such a depth that the fight over the board will become secondary to the memorization of opening lines, and that's
Yeah.
what he wanted to avoid. Is it your you agree with
I,
that?
I have a potential counterexample from the London FIDE Open Classic prepared, but yes, that's always been my view. And so that's why I've advocated what one might call Fischer non-random chess, where you get to place the pieces on your own back row, not necessarily symmetrically. Bishops on opposite colors, at least one rook in a corner.
I'm fascinated with this system, and I can't figure out why it's not taking its more in popularity.
Well, I mean, the concept really goes back to David Bronstein and Paul
Yes.
Benker, and Arthur Bisquire should get some part credit for it too. They played a match, Bisquire and Benko, in the 1970s. I think it was Bisquire facing Benko, and but at that time maybe the circumstances weren't right for it to catch on. Then that did not have the Fischer-Castling rule, so I think it's blending in the Fischer-Castling rule is what really makes it work.
Yeah. Actually, there one proposal recently was by person who is the most hated chess player of all time, Vladimir Kramnik, and he suggested play just a regular chess. The only thing is no castle, and possibly change queen and king places, both white and black. But that's not necessary. The most important thing is not to have a castle, and
Yes,
that
or
also didn't catch up.
my little riff on that is to allow only castling on the queen side. When they did a Women's Day, I wish I had proposed that as a possible variant to play.
Nice. It sounds nice, really. I cannot say anything, but listen. Sometimes it's what people want to play, and that's what organizers want to see happen. That
Right.
takes over all different considerations and ideas, and that's what we have right now. That this,
That I would need to find an angel to sponsor this
yeah,
in order to have it.
you agree. But as this organizer, he definitely has a lot of marketing skills and a lot of chutzpah, and he's doing fantastic things so far. I'm a little bit disappointed
Yes,
that by the end of the tournament and closing ceremony, he could not announce the next tournament. That's a little bit
right.
worrisome.
There have been some whispers on Twitter from David Agard, that the attention was not what they hoped for. But
Hmm.
but anyway, so we'll see. I mean, there's also the new freestyle chess club founded by Magnus Carlsen.
Hmm. Yeah, well, we'll see. It's definitely there are a lot of merits to continue this, and I'm very excited, same as Nava, for Levon Aranyan finally clinching the enormous
Right.
victory in
The beast was slain in this game.
because Carlson is very tough to beat. But for some reason, and it's not only against Aronian, I think in a few other games, he was a little bit more vulnerable than usual. And well, we'll see. We'll see his true form very soon in a world championship in Blitz and Rapid
Right.
Game.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah,
Uh,
see what it's all about.
So here's the game, and the number one thing that jumps out is that this is real close to the standard starting position. You
Yeah.
only need to interchange the queen and the knights on d1 and d8, and you
Mhm.
have the standard starting position. But perhaps dubiously, now the other funny thing is, one of my themes today is the reliability of engines for opening evaluations. So I don't know why the engine is thinking it's black's turn to move, for one thing. But anyway, a white played d4, which seems weird. The pawn's not supported by the queen, and neither is there support for the adjacent squares yet, although it will be coming. And Carlsen responded with what in normal chess we would call the Dutch defense, which is definitely dubious, but here it has the benefit of opening up as queen to enter the game right away. And of course, perhaps gain preponderance in the center when white plays e4. But Aronian has very logical reply, f3, supporting e4 with a pawn, and also opening up his own queen. So the interesting thing is, right now, actually finding the engine's not saying that it's such great advantage. And this now comes a gambit that you would never play in the real Dutch defense, but it works because white would lose a tempo to play f4 in this position. Now the engine is actually recommending that as the best move, saying that white should play like Courtjoy and black will lay d5 or d6, their equivalent, I think. Um, but anyway, instead, white simply played actively, and now black has a nice foothold in the center, but here comes e4. It's not as important as it would have been if white had two pawns abreast, but there's the question of when and whether black is able to recapture the pawn. Now there are some tactics going on here. Okay, so if you recapture the pawn, you leave yourself open to the advance of white's f pawn, either now or on upcoming moves. So this does show that white has a fairly significant lead in development. Although I don't know, black has two knights on the board. Anyway, Carlsen plays just a calm game of chess, but you know what? He never gets back his pawn. So it's a question of whether black's play on the light squares in particular justifies the sacrifice. Here we go. White now spends a tempo on f4, and black castle is queenside. It looks like normal castling it is when the king is on the original square. And there follow some tactics, but they're all dubious. So this really is what we would consider fishy play, not Fisher play, fishy play. Like, you know, So white just has to spend a couple of developing moves to castle on the king side. This is slow, and black is not able to put pressure on white's king on the e file in time. Instead, what's evident is that black has some weaknesses in his own camp, and white has an extra pawn pushing f5 to finger them with. And in particular, rook hg8, which is the most natural move on the board, you would think, just loses the knight. So, so black has to spend a tempo to unpin the knight, and now white is, with queen f7 having been a bad idea, white is thoroughly in the driver's seat. Could castle kingside? Let's see. Is there a reason not to castle kingside in this position? No, white's perfectly good. But Aronian realizes, well, black doesn't even have an attack on the other side. Carlsen spends a move, and now Aronian is the one attacking on the queen side, not black. And now it's a pseudo sham sacrifice because e6 is hanging, so black has to recapture with the rook. And now from here on, Aronian just has a 3-pawn advantage according to the engine, and this is just crushing. By the way, I should say the game is 30 minutes with a 15-second increment, thus giving 45 minutes to 60 moves. But Carlsen was already down under a minute in this position. So desperation all around, and Aronian merely has to play calmly. Now here, okay, a little bit of excitement here. We just ignore it. And now there's no attack for black. In fact, white is the two bishops absolutely raking black's position. And now white is the one able to bring up the pawns. And now this is a nice move. Yeah. In a good position. It's not even the best move according to the computer. So the computer would just play sadistic chess like this. Both of black's knights are attacked. Okay. But if you see a way to simplify the position, even though you can go ahead and do it. So it's a little bit psychedelic because white's rook is hanging too. And if black captures knight takes knight, then white's rook becomes a kamikaze on the bishop. Actually, it's not, does it? Let's see. Am I miscounting pieces of myself? No, let's see. All right, let's see how my chess head is here. Oh yeah, that gives away a lot of the advantage, although it's definitely a winning ending. But simpler is to keep the rook on the board. And black is going to lose the knight on d4 to a pin. That's the point. So then white is just the exchange ahead. Okay, so game went this way instead. Black has survived to an end game, but is 2 pawns down and still being attacked. So black stabilizes the position a little bit, but here come white's pawns. This nice move to preserve white having majority on the queen side, and the rest, is just a little bit of a mop-up operation. The engine does say white has had 5 pawns, and as soon as Aronian's king got to the center too, Carlsen gave up. So, yeah, props to Aronian, but caught Carlsen playing dubiously in the opening 10, 12 moves of the game.
And he couldn't create any difficulties for Aronian throughout the game. His position was much worse after the opening and remained so until the very end.
That's right, yeah. Yes.
Very unusual.
Yep. Well, there was the second round, and Carlsen, of course, pressed. And it's worth showing this game as well, again, for Aronian's steely calm under pressure. This time, the position is much more randomized, and the move f4 makes total sense with the rook behind it, and now opening up white's bishop. So I don't know whether you would call this King's Indian attack in a normal game. Probably, yeah. I guess you would call this King's Indian attack. White does spend a tempo though, so black can get equity in the center with the d pawn. But I have to say, white has the advantage. It's very strange. I like white's position for the initiative, but the computer is liking black here. It is true, however, though, that white is going to spend more time developing the bishop on c8. Also worth noting that when white castles to activate the a1 rook, the king is going to slide to the right because the final position is the same as queenside castling. So white's king is perfectly safe, as is black's right now. Black has to do something about the rook on a8, but okay, we'll just put the bishop in front. So both players are going to want to find some way to develop their bishop and then connect the rooks. And the way that Aronian does it is not to castle on the queen side, which he could do. He could play king c8 and rook d8, and then his king is a little bit open. But it's also legal for him to castle on the king side. And again, the point is the final position is after kingside castling. So black's king ducks out to the right, and now it's very clear black has a lead in development, and that outweighs white's slightly greater command of the center. And in fact, the engine gives black a half pawn lead. So white still has to play a castling move, and white has the same options here. Okay, so neither the rooks nor the king is moved. So white can castle kingside by playing king g1, or castle queenside by playing king c1 and rook a d1. And but there's a little bit more jockeying instead from Aronian, and the irony is, in fact, that he never castles. He finds a simpler way to connect his rooks. So, aside from Carlsen. So Carlsen, as I said, this was good, solid choice by Aronian. Carlsen has to press, but is pressing with the position that's structurally worse. Well, he has, slightly better command to the center, but also some weak squares, and the black is able to press on the queen side right away. So, okay, well, actually, white is equalized, and I don't know what was wrong about black's moves. Anyway, this is how white connects the rooks instead. So I would say here, I mean, yes, with the benefit of the engine evaluation, that white is equalized because black's attack isn't going to press white with an invasion, and white will be able to neutralize whatever's happening by activity in the center. Okay, so this is, and here we go. So exchange of knights in the center. White's knight on d4 is a nice anchor of c2. So black just guards the pawn. White overprotects c2.
Finally, I think after this move, I already knew that white will not be able to win.
Yeah. This is completely solid for black. Now, king g7 is given as a little slip, saying c3 check was attractive and should have been thrown in, and maybe that's true. Now white stops c3 check, but there's no danger for black here. But Carlsen still presses, and give Carlsen credit. He gets his rook through the 7th rank and gets a pawn to c7. So at least makes Aronian think here. So here comes white's pawn. White does have a passed pawn, and that is an asset in this position. Okay, so white turns down the draw, but this cedes a tempo. Okay, but white is a passed pawn. White can try to do something with it. So it's now a 4/10 of a pawn advantage for white. So Aronian plays steadily. Worth noting the clock time, Aronian did have 10 minutes in the bank. Carlsen down to 2 minutes. Right, but Carlsen has made some weaknesses in black's camp, but black has a tactical way to prevent further harm. So the basic point here is that if white captures on h6, then black is able to play knight c2 check and will either get a perpetual check with the e3 square, which white's rook would no longer be guarding, or is going to win white's c pawn and protect the knight at the same time. So white instead captures. Now h6 is guarded, and white just has slightly better central presence, but black has a lot of open lines and can defend. and in fact, the game's will equal again. White got his rook to the 7th rank and ceded a pawn, but White has the pawn up now to the 6th rank, so maybe in time pressure, something could possibly go wrong here. So as Carlsen really is, now the pawn's advanced to the 7th rank, and if White can protect it with the knight, then things might happen. But in fact, Carlsen recognized the inevitable here.
Yeah, rook h5 is extremely strong because it forces rook d5, rook d7.
Yep, and that will win the pawn. And in fact, White arguably has to scramble to equalize this. So, well, but White can play king c3 instead of rook d5, rook h6, and trade pawns and instead draw it. So thus the title passed to Aronian.
Wow. Great achievement, because it looked for quite a time that nobody could fight Carlsen in any format, whether it's a classical or this Fischer random or just any other configuration, blitz and random, all these chess.
Now, nevertheless, Carlsen did win the Grand Slam from victories in earlier events. There is another circuit winner whom I want to call attention to. We covered the London Classic last week, but we did not mention arguably the most heralded strongest player playing in London. And this was Praggnanandhaa. Okay. Well, he was playing in the Open. He, of course, could have secured an invitation to the elite, but he wanted to play in the Open to shore up his lead in the FIDE circuit, which he did playing very steady chess. He drew 4 games against lower rated players, but he engineered a tie for first with 7 out of 9, and that was enough to cement his winning the FIDE circuit and qualifying for the candidates in that manner. Okay, he sewed up the tournament by winning in fine style in a French defense over David Gavrilescu. Now he's more than 200 points higher rated than Gavrilescu, but there are some instructive points about this game relating to engine evaluations and theory. So you see upper left, we have the latest Stockfish 17.1, although light version it says. I think that's just how long it's run, but still being run to depth 23. That's about equivalent to what I use in my own scripts. Okay, so we play the heavy version of the French. Okay, and White plays a3, which forces Black's hand. Now here's the very funny thing. So the funny thing is that actually the engine regards Black as fully equalizing by capturing with the bishop. Okay. But that's not what Gavrilescu did. So now if we look at this position in ChessBase with the big database and look at book, okay, so what we'll see is that the move knight takes c5 actually scores over 50%.
Really?
Yes. However, with a big caveat. We'll see the highest ELO. The games in which knight takes c5 was played were basically all before the introduction of the chess rating system. So let's so I said bishop takes c5 is the normal move, but let's play knight takes c5 and see who appears. So the highest ELO is 1628 by Benesh Mikutz. But down here there are some players who weren't so weak. Well, there was Emanuel Lasker losing to Harry Pillsbury in the famous quadrangular tournament of 1896. And further down, there's Blackburn, okay, losing to Lipschitz. Okay, so the scoring for Black didn't occur there. And here is, and there's also Jan Hein Donner, closer to our time, winning from this position. So yes, let's just see exactly which Lasker Pillsbury game this is. Oh, it's a pretty wild one. But let's see, is this the? I don't know. This is actually a little bit of a crush. No, it's actually Nuremberg. It was not the famous quadrangular tournament. Okay, so I'm wrong inferring from the date. So I guess this some of this looks a little modern with the H pawns and A pawns moving, but Pillsbury plays a nice sacrifice and gets command of the center, and Black's pieces are just overextended. Yeah, this is a brilliant game here.
Wow.
Yeah, so definitely worth showing. One Black's queen. I guess there was nothing Black could do because White's otherwise going to invade on the F file and win. So nice play by Pillsbury. But let's go back to Praggnanandhaa against Gavrilescu, because there are some nice moves in this game too.
Ken, one suggestion: do you think it's possible to eliminate from the databases games played by, say, under 22,000 players?
Oh yes, you can do that, and I implicitly do that when I remove book in for my formal anti-cheating tests. I remove only book by 2,300 players and above. The same standard as the opening databases.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I could do that automatically, but there are the determination of book in chess with transpositions is actually a very difficult mathematical problem. So I do it manually. And with ChessBase, by the way, little secret, don't use the find book. Don't use find novelty. It's still buggy, but novelty annotation is not buggy, and it works very well. It took me a while to realize that.
You have to know that.
Yeah. So anyway, so Black captures with the knight. Surely, a heralded book move, but given as a mistake by the engine. Well, the engine's going to think that a number of moves coming up are a mistake, but they're all still pretty much in book. So let me actually play this also in the game that I have open. Wait, did I dismiss the window of it? No, here it is. So let's play a few more moves here. And let's see now this A6 move. Let's take a look. Is it really a mistake? It was played in one game, and the player who played it lost. So who was the unlucky player of A6? It was a guy named Martin Medina, 2032. So we can say that we are out of book when Black plays A6. Okay. It's well under 2,300. Castling has to be said that's the normal move. And then there was the F6 move. Is that really sound? Well, I doubt it. It was played by an 1839 player, so never mind. So yeah, all of these considerations. So it may be that the players already were out of book, and the thinking times, 20 minutes expended by Black in particular. So the engine thinks that Queen D2 is a mistake, and that White should play B4 right away, and then play Bishop D3. And to tell you, that would be very attractive to me. I always like getting the D3 squared in positions like this with the pawn on E5. But Praggnanandhaa plays slow and carefully. And now the engine thinks that White's castling queenside is also a mistake, and that Black is again, equal. And E5 is the right move. And then Pragg plays Queen F2. Again, looks like a perfectly fine move by me. But now says that Black should be able to get an attack against White's king by playing B4. And why doesn't that hang a piece? Okay, let's see. No, it doesn't hang a piece because Black capture on C3. And then after White takes, you just go back. So anyway, but the engine says also nothing wrong with Black's knight D7. So knight D4. So this looks completely solid, but the engine believes Black's counterattack with Queen F7. So the thing is, it's not going to be in just a few moves. Black's position is going to look recognizably bad, and then the game turns again. So F6, normal French strategy, looks good, but maybe not here.
Maybe B4 was better.
Yeah, B4, playing the attack. Yeah, maybe Black has an embarrassment of riches. Now, it's right around here that I actually worry about White's position being a little fragile. And White is not going to attack Black's E6 square anytime soon. So, anyway, so knight c5 or b4 or queen c7, all our moves. But black played bishop c5. And now, actually, now white's position looks a whole lot better than it did before. And black's bishop on c8 now looks like a real problem. So
And
this,
h3 is a threat too.
yeah, queen h3 is e6 in anticipation of that. And so oddly enough, the one move that keeps a good advantage for white is rook hf1. Why not queen h3? Black plays bishop g6, and then suddenly maybe white has lost a step in guarding the e pawn, and black is coming with a5. So so definitely a hard position to judge. So knight b6, what a totally natural move. Now knight f4, good for white, but it's very hard to calculate. Rook f1 was the best move last move. It's still certainly good now. And here, from here on in, Praggnanandhaa just outplays Gavrilescu. And what we have now is the classic position of good knight against bad bishop. And the white tightens the screws as much as possible. So a passed pawn on f6 emerging as a threat. Black's king is also under threat. There we go, f6. Black decides not to concede white the passed pawn, but then black's queen really has no prospects either. So black sheds a pawn to try to get some counterplay. But here white is clearly winning, and there's this neat combination. So, oops, sorry, I meant to go back. So there's this neat combination here where Pragg realizes that he can snuff black's counterplay by trading the queens. And he first makes the time control, because there was a move 40 added time. You see it on the clock now. And then carefully dances with his queen so black cannot escape.
Nice.
And Gavrilescu gave up.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So so that was very good by Praggnanandhaa. So we'll look forward to seeing him in the candidates as well. The candidates field was set. I think 4 newcomers, 4 previous participants. And the last thing I'm gonna just want to mention, I'll just jump to the end here. This is an interesting game from the Bundesliga. That so the Bundesliga has been going on. The London Classic was played at a soccer stadium, the XTX soccer stadium, worth showing a picture on the screen as it's beautiful to look at. Here it is.
Wow.
So the Emirates Soccer State Arsenal Football Club in London, and the Bundesliga has long had an association with Bundesliga soccer, although they don't always use the soccer things as venues. And this was steadily outplaying until black missed just missed a calculation and allowed white back into the game. But at any rate, white pulled into a position where I'm sorry, this is what I had before. So white pulled into a position where it came down to just pawns after the trade of bishops. So how well do you know your pawn endings? So the thing you need to count, the key square on this board, the key square on this board is the C1 square. Can white's king get to C1? Because that's a square on which in certain positions you're able to get the opposition. So the drawing line was to play b4 and keep black's king away, so that you could possibly get the opposition in this place. Ooh, king takes a5. Okay, king f5. Okay, it's just showing black not making progress. Let me go back just to see what happens if black does the obvious thing. So whoops, yeah. So if black does the obvious thing against b4 and plays king here, then white is just going to get okay, king takes f5, king c4. Let's count this race, king g5. Okay, and it's very clearly an even race. That's why B4 is also effective. But let's see. So if black plays, now I guess actually I'm wrong about the C4 square. It's just simply that with B4, white is able to assure the pawn race. I was imagining a position in which white's king is able to get back to C1 and then come to B2 and oppose the kings and draw the endgame. But no, it's actually simpler than that. So at any rate, so this was a win on first board by Vola Keaton in one of the Bundesliga matches. So the MSA Zugzwang lost to SFR Wolfhagen. So lots of action there also continuing throughout the year.
Wow, very exciting. Look at so many tournaments in every country, every continent, and chess is really doing extremely well. I wish that this freestyle will have its continuation, because of course I'm not aware of any financial side of it and so on, and that's the way it looks. It's very, very challenging. I think we're talking about not even millions, we're talking about tens of millions of dollars being injected into it, and it's a hard act to follow. Very good. But we'll see. Hopefully something will happen to it, and we'll have next season.
I hope chess sustains its popularity, and I have to say, shout out to organizers in Britain for pulling off the Classic and organizing many other tournaments. FIDE has gotten involved. Maybe FIDE's effect is more obvious in countries like Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan, and where, of course, all eyes will turn at the end of this month. So.
Okay. So that's all of that, and we'll see you next week, same place, same time. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.